Okay, so this is going to be the last of the What Made It Good series for the Resident Evil games. This is going to be a video on Code Veronica. This is a PS2 game, and this game is loved. People love this game. Um, Most people would say it needs a remake more than 4 does. I would agree. Obviously 4, I mentioned in the previous video, 4 already plays like so good and looks kind of really good for how old it is. So the remake would obviously change controls, it would change the visuals. Obviously the visuals, it would look better, but it doesn't necessarily need a remake because it's still new enough that it just plays nicely, you know? But Code Veronica, this version is honestly just a port. Like, they didn't really change anything, I don't think. It's literally straight up the PS2 version on the PS4. So the game has definitely been neglected in terms of treatment, unlike the other games where, 2 got a remake, 3 got a remake, 1 got a remake, 4 got a HD version, and then you have this. I think it's slightly improved, obviously, because of the resolution of modern TVs and stuff like that, but it definitely does deserve some kind of treatment, whether that's a full remake or just like a HD upscale with a bit of revamped controls. The controls aren't bad, but they're definitely better than like the original controls, but it definitely needs some kind of attention at some point, and I'm sure, the voices are loud enough that it will happen. But besides that, when you get into the story, briefly, the gameplay, briefly, because there's not a big difference between this and the first game, but leave those if you do enjoy this, and let me know what you think of Code Veronica, and let's do this. Okay, so a quick rundown of what's going on in this game. You play as Claire. This is set not too long after the events of 2. I think it's like a couple months after 2. And she is basically going to find Chris, because obviously she went to Raccoon City to find Chris, but he wasn't there. And now she's trying to find him elsewhere. I believe she goes to a facility in Paris. I think it's an umbrella facility in Paris. Could be wrong, but then she gets captured and sent to a island where the island's basically going to shit. It's like a military island. She's in a prison there, but it's going to hell, obviously. Zombies. No shock there. But obviously the goal changes to escaping the island and finding Chris again. You meet Steve not long after the game starts. He is basically the second character in this game. He's a criminal on the island who is also a prisoner there and has also escaped. And he helps Claire to get away. There's not much in terms of story that's kind of massive. There is the boss, like the main dude, who is... I don't actually recall his name. I want to say it's Ashford or something like that. But I could entirely be wrong. But he's like the main villain, and he kind of... It's a weird boss, okay? It's a weird storyline with him, but at the same time, you kind of feel bad for him at the same time. But he's like the main villain, and obviously Wesker's in this game as well. Wesker in this game, I believe, is starting to turn into Neo Wesker. He's got like the orange eyes, I think. But he's not really that much. You mainly just play as Claire trying to escape the island and find Chris. And I think you do play as Chris at the end because he finds out where Claire's going, or she finds out where he's going. One of the two. And then eventually, obviously, they do meet up, and boom. End of story. Zombies escaped. But there's not really much going on in terms of story in this game. In terms of like anything that's massively different to massively like a mind blow. Like, you just kind of, this is what happens. So go do it. Kind of, Yeah, gameplay wise, it's kind of like, it's more like the 1 remake than it is like the original one. Like, the controls are good. It's essentially the 1 stick and then circle is your sprint. The inventory is the same as 1, 2, and 3. I think the inventory looks really clean, to be honest. Still the limited slots, so you do have to be careful. From my experience with this game, I do feel like ammo in this game is either a big problem at times, and then other times it's very forgiving. You get quite a lot in certain places. It differs quite often, but it really gives you the ammo when you need it rather than when you don't. Apart from maybe this one time I've played through the game where you fought the tyrant on a plane, in the back of a plane, and the door's open, you have to try and knock him out. and it took me so many attempts because I just messed my ammo up. My saves were all out of sync, so if I reloaded the save, it would take me millions of miles back. And I didn't want to do that, so I ended up doing it with a knife and a cheeky YouTube strat. But yeah, I had no bullets, but it is forgiving at times with the ammo, and obviously limited guns in this game as well, much like the originals. There's only a few guns in the game you can use. My personal favorite is the 2 machine guns. I think that's really cool. But again, you don't be wasting bullets in those because they are super strong and good for clearing out loads of enemies at once. And also the different types in this game are pretty good. Also the normal zombies, and then there's like these weird zombies quite a bit of the way in. And then when you get as Chris, I think there's like spiders and stuff. And they're all pretty cool. Kind of, there's not massive variations obviously, because it is very much similar to the original and 2 and 3. Excuse me, so there's not massive variation, but it's still nice to see that there's a few things that are going on in this game. But now we'll talk about the bosses. The bosses is probably my favourite part of this game, I would say. So we'll talk about the bosses now. Alright, so boss fights. There's a couple in this game that do stand out to me as like genuinely some of the better boss fights in the series, I would say. One of which is one I just mentioned, is the Tyrant on the back of the ship, like the plane, the cargo plane you want to call it. It's such a small area, and again, if you haven't got many bullets, it's very, very nerve-wracking. But I do like that because the area is so small, and he's super strong. Like he's super strong. It just makes it for a whole like this ridiculous experience. And there is obviously an easy way to do it. Like all bosses, there's always a way that just makes it a joke. But if you do not do that, it's a blast. Like if you try and just combat your way through the boss rather than doing the cheese. If you know the cheese, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, essentially, you can kind of like walk around just the perimeter of the area, and every time he gets close, he'll just miss, and you wait for the door, the cargo boxes to be ready to be pushed. I think you have to like 3 or 4 times. If you don't shoot him at all, it takes more, but you can essentially just loop him around and round and round, and eventually you'll hit him so many times with the cargo that he'll just fall out. But that's the cheesy way of doing it. That's how I did it the first time through, because I really screwed myself in terms of bullets. But I came back, obviously, and did properly, and that was a lot of fun. The second boss that I actually personally really like in the game is Nosferatu. You fight him on a helipad on the in the mist, in like a foggy area. I think it's snow, actually. I'm not too sure where or what is going on, but essentially you get a sniper rifle with a scope, and the only way to beat Nosferatu is to get some distance on him, because he has some ranged attacks and some really strong attacks. Get some range on him. Obviously it's the third person, like, kind of fixed camera, so you ADS with a sniper, you get the scope, so you get the first person scope, and you basically have to shoot him like directly in his heart. Again, didn't have many bullets. This is the one time, for the first time that I did actually reload a save, which wasn't too far back, and just kind of reevaluate what I was doing. I thought that boss fight was epic. I thought it was super cool. It was kind of unique. Obviously there is some enemies like that in the series later on, like the regenerators in 4. Obviously they have the same kind of principle where you get a thermal scope and then you shoot the parasites inside them and that kills them permanently. But this was a boss that was built on that, which was super cool. I really enjoyed that fight. And then there's the gulp worm. The gulp worm is on the military island, I believe. It does pop up every now and again. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it does. I believe you have like, officially taken out when you're Chris. I believe you fire when you're Chris and kill it. And it's a pretty good fight. Like, the worm's quite big. Again, quite strong. I believe it has a one-shot move. Although it could be wrong. That's not just me being nearly dead. But I particularly remember being hit by it and just dying immediately. But I thought that boss fight was really cool. Some people would disagree, but I thought it was sick. It was in the caves, super cool, and obviously playing as Chris is just, it's Chris, man. Like, come on. But yeah, that's basically gonna do it, Code Veronica. There's not much to say. Personally, it's not one of my favourites. I know that's kind of like the weird thing to say. Everyone loves this game, but it's not one of my personal favourites. I played it through 3 times, I think, and then that was it. I did enjoy it, don't get me wrong, but it's just not up there for me. But it's definitely got some good value to it. I'll see why people like it, and again, it definitely does need the attention that the other games in the series have gotten, at least just a little bit. But yeah, hopefully you will enjoy it. Let me know how you played Code Veronica. Let me know what you think of it, what's good about it, what's not. and hopefully for the next game in this kind of series I have going on, we're looking at Evil Within and Evil Within 2, because I love those games and they're very, very Resident Evil-like. But until then, thank you all for watching, and hopefully I'll catch you all in the next video.